Hey, how's it going, guys? My name is Nort, and in today's video I have some very interesting news, and this news pretty much made me jump out of my chair. Now, I've been researching it for the past few hours now. I've been going into detail and breaking this news down bit by bit, but it looks like the next DLC could be the single player update, the one which we've all been waiting for ever since the release of the game. So if you guys didn't notice, Rockstar Games have been hinting us that we're going to be getting a single player DLC. They didn't tell us when, but when the game was released, they said there'll be 4 definitive DLCs, one of which will be the single player DLC, along with heists and other things which have already been released. Rockstar Games have then continued to tell us that we'll be receiving this DLC on dates which the DLC hasn't actually been released on. So Rockstar Games have been suppressing this DLC for such a long time, and recently some evidence has just come out of the game files from someone over at Seven Sins, otherwise known as London Town 2004. Now we're going to take this step by step, and I'm going to try and break this down as simple as possible so it can process in your minds. If you have any questions about what I'm going to be telling you guys, feel free to let me know down in the comments. But first off, this directory is taken straight out of the DLC packs in the game files. Now, if you guys are wondering what's inside the DLC packs, this is essentially all of the recent DLCs around this period, and every time a DLC is introduced, the directory is updated with more DLCs to come. Now, this is how a lot of hackers and modders find out information about future DLCs, because they can look in these directories and find things which haven't yet been released. In this case, as you can see, the pack has Christmas DLC, it has the Halloween update, it has the Heist update, the Lowrider update, the Lux 2 update, which looks like the Lowrider Part 2 update. We'll get into that another day, but we're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom to take a look at the SP_DLC_2937. Now, for any of you guys asking what this could mean, this actually stands for Single Player DLC 2937, and it brings to question, why is it in the DLC pack directory? Why is it sitting there in DLCs which we have already had? Now, this only brings one answer, and that is that this DLC is going to be released very soon. Now, the estimation on the ETA of this DLC is January 2016. It could also be early February. If this information is correct, though, we should be seeing this DLC introduced in the first quarter of 2016, so January, February, and March. But moving into the next source of information, he actually went into the Rockstar's security system through their server logs, and while researching, he found something which was completely unrelated. Like, this thing, you wouldn't expect what it would be unless you have all the information around this. Now, this is locked for standard visitors. I believe it's private. You can go and check out a URL on this page, of course, but we're just going to be taking a look at the image which he screen grabbed. So this is actually in the DLC packs in the single player DLC, and you can see a DLC management as well as a setup too. Now, to any other person reading this, they're probably thinking, okay, that's probably something to do with the DLC. You can't really make too much about this, but take a look at the folder above it, which says common, and inside that directory, it had all of the assets needed to install the DLC management, which was in the single player update. So what this guy did, he tried to install the DLC management, and it appears the DLC is paid, which is a very kind of frustrating thing. And believe me, guys, I was bummed when I saw this. The moment this guy looked in the comments and took a look at all the information about this and found out that the DLC right now is a paid premium DLC, I was so bummed. But then I thought to myself that it does make sense, because in online, you can kind of make money from DLCs by charging people for the items in the DLC. In single player, there's so much money floating around using the stock market that it would make sense on Rockstar's behalf to introduce a story mode DLC as a paid DLC. So unfortunately, I was bummed. I'm sure you guys will be bummed as well, but it looks like this DLC is going to be a paid DLC. Now, as you can see in this screen grab, he tried to load up the DLC. Of course, it couldn't be loaded. Please check the activation status and restart the Grand Theft Auto 5. So, unfortunately, you couldn't actually load the DLC. Something else to mention is the fact you have to activate this DLC shows that it is also a paid DLC, because you have to actually activate a code for this DLC in order to activate the DLC, which is very frustrating and annoying. But that could just be on there while the DLC is private. Maybe you have to have an activation code to access it. I really don't know, but hopefully this DLC won't be paid for, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, we also dug a tiny bit deeper. We got through a few of these loading errors and got this screen grab of what looks to be the Grand Theft Auto 5 single player. He also managed to take a screen grab of the DLC content, which is next to the map, so this is what it might look like when you get the single player DLC. And a bit later, when he was mucking around in Rockstar Editor, the DLC tile opens a menu linking to the DLC management screen. Now, this is also something he found in the directory. If you guys can remember a few minutes back in this video, this is the DLC management, which of course is in the Rockstar Editor, and it says, press enter to manage installed DLC within the Social Club UI. You cannot manage DLC that has not been activated. Once again, you have to activate this DLC, which is of course very, very frustrating. Anyway, this excited him, it excited me as well the moment I read this, and he also shows the SP_DLC 2937, that is the DLC file. Now, before you guys start like hot shooting loads of questions at this guy, he did answer a lot of questions to the community. Question number one, if Rockstar Games are adding this so-called DLC management, will that include GTA Online, or is this just for story mode only? In which he answered, it appears that the system is for single player content only. We already know how Rockstar Games handle GTA Online updates, mandatory, but single player has this system to give players a choice on whether they would like to install an expansion or not. So to conclude the answer, it is for story mode only. So by the looks of things, you can choose to install the DLC, or you don't have to install the DLC. How will Rockstar Games even deliver the paid content to players that refuse to purchase it? At this time, he couldn't be sure. It can only work two ways. Either they'll download it to your PC with the title update and then idle the content until you purchase it, or they'll have a dedicated store to purchase and download the expansions. Another user asked, was all of this added in the latest update? Because I've checked and there is nothing of this, in which he replied, no, the DLC management is a separate download. I cannot say much on how I retrieved the data, but I did provide the URL above for those who might equal my accessibility. So he did actually provide some URLs in which you can go and check out the files in the directories. You can go and check this out on the 7sins post. I will leave a link down in the description below. Now, for those of you guys asking how credible this source is, someone actually asked the guy how credible he was, in which he replied, from how finalized the content is, except from the pause menu bug and the vague DLC list, I would predict it's ready for January/February 2016. It's always a pinch of salt when looking at leaked content, I must admit myself, and you should always wait for the official announcement. But if you don't want, like, or trust this information, it's cool. Followed by a slight tangent about other users not trusting his sources, but by the looks of things, judging by the information we have got from this guy and the fact he's given us URLs, he's given us screen grabs, he's given us where he has found and the location of some of these files, I am trusting this source. Now, usually I wouldn't trust a lot of these sources, but this guy has genuinely got a lot of kind of evidence backing himself up, and we do know there is going to be a single player DLC. It's confirmed by Rockstar Games. It has been confirmed since 2013 when GTA 5 was released. Rockstar Games said on the news why we would be getting it. They didn't give us a final release date, and all the other release dates we got from them, it wasn't released on that date, and it was pretty much forgotten about. So it is coming, and I honestly trust this source. I think you guys should as well. If you want to go and check out at London Town 2004, I'll leave a Twitter down in the description below where you can go and check out his Twitter page. I do recommend, if you have any questions, go and tweet him, ask him anything you guys want to ask him. Like I said, I'm going to trust this source, although any source we have to take with a pinch of salt, like this guy said, but we're going to have to trust it, and I honestly think this guy is legitimate. So I am looking forward to the single player DLC, which should be coming in January, February, or maybe even March 2016. Given that we got a DLC in December, I think we might be seeing this late January, early February, as that is kind of a time schedule Rockstar Games would work on, as we're not getting DLCs every single month, we're getting them every 2 months or so. So I think we'll be seeing it early February or late February, somewhere in that month, but we'll have to wait and see, and I really can't wait to see exactly what Rockstar Games have in store for us in this DLC. Anyway, once again, I must say a big thank you to London Town 2004. Go and check him out in the description, ask him anything you guys like, and if you did enjoy this video, be sure to smack that like button, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, as you'll never miss out on any more Grand Theft Auto 5 content every single day. More importantly, I would love to know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Would you pay for this DLC? Would you not pay for the DLC? Are you looking forward to the DLC? And what are you looking forward to the most in the single player update. Personally, I'm just looking forward to more single player content. Now, if you guys are going to ask whether this is coming to Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3, I don't think it is. But we'll have to wait and see on what Rockstar Games have in store for us then. Furthermore, if you want to ask me any questions, then feel free to let me know down in the comments. I will try and reply to every one of you guys, and I'm also going to be reading your comments as well, so your feedback is very much appreciated. Anyway guys, my name is Nort, I hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time.